You know, in the history of science, some stories just get lost. Today, we're digging up one of the most important ones, a truly groundbreaking climate discovery that was buried for over 150 years, and the incredible woman who made it happen.
And this is the huge question at the heart of it all. I mean, just imagine for a second. What if the basic science behind climate change was understood decades earlier than we all thought? How different would our world look today?
Okay, so to really get this, we have to start with the official story, the one you'll find in most textbooks about how we discovered the greenhouse effect.
So the name you'll almost always hear is John Tyndall. He was a brilliant Irish physicist. And in 1859, his experiments proved that certain gases, especially carbon dioxide, could trap heat. This work became the bedrock of modern climate science, and Tyndall is still called the father of the greenhouse effect. Seems pretty straightforward, right?
Well, here's the thing. That's not where the story really begins. To get the full picture, we actually need to rewind the clock 3 full years, back to 1856. And this is where we meet the real hero of our story, Eunice Foote. She was an American amateur scientist and, get this, a passionate advocate for women's rights, a total powerhouse. All right, before we get into our experiment, let's just do a super quick refresh on what we're talking about here. The greenhouse effect is basically the Earth's atmospheric blanket. Certain gases trap the sun's heat, which keeps our planet from being a frozen rock. The big question back then was, which gases do the trapping? So how did she figure this out back in the 1850s? Well, she designed an experiment that was honestly just ingenious in its simplicity.
What's so amazing is how elegant this was. She took 2 identical glass jars, stuck a thermometer in each one, and then filled one with regular air and the other with carbon dioxide. She just put them both out in the sun and watched. The result? It was crystal clear. The jar with the CO2 got way hotter, and it stayed hot for longer. She had literally demonstrated the greenhouse effect in a bottle.
But here's what makes her a true visionary. She didn't just stop at the observation. She made this incredible conceptual leap. In her paper, she wrote that an atmosphere of CO2 would give to our Earth a high temperature. She connected the dots from a little experiment on her table all the way to the climate of the entire planet. And remember, this is 1856. Okay, so let's just put it side by side. Foote, in 1856, is the first to prove CO2 traps heat and then connects it to global temperature. 3 years later, Tyndall independently proves the same thing, with fancier gear. But here's the kicker. It's how their work was received that changes everything. Which brings us to the big frustrating question, right? If her discovery was so groundbreaking, and she was first, why do we all know the name John Tyndall, but not Eunice Foote? Why was she just overlooked? Well, the answer really comes down to what happened at a huge scientific conference that same year, 1856. Her paper was on the schedule. This should have been her moment, her big debut to the scientific world. But she wasn't the one who walked up to the podium. And the reason why is as simple as it is infuriating. It was because she was a woman. In the 1850s, women just weren't allowed to present their own research at these meetings. So a male colleague, Professor Joseph Henry from the Smithsonian, read her paper for her. And that one fact, that she couldn't present her own work, had these massive ripple effects. Her discovery, read by someone else, got published as just a short summary and then it just faded away. It was forgotten. 3 years later, Tyndall presents his own findings to the very prestigious Royal Society in London. His work gets published everywhere. It becomes scientific law. Same core discovery, but 2 completely different fates. So this brings us right back to where we started. What was the real cost of silencing Eunice Foote? When her voice was ignored, what did we all lose?
Over 150 years. Now, of course, we can't know for sure what would have happened differently, but just let that sink in. That's a massive potential head start on understanding one of the most critical issues our world has ever faced, and it was just lost.
You see, this story isn't just about correcting the historical record. It's not just a piece of trivia. It's about what happens when we don't listen to all the voices in the room, when we decide some people's ideas are worth less than others. And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. We found Eunice Foote's story. Thankfully, it was rediscovered. But it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other brilliant ideas, how many other breakthroughs are still out there, lost to history? Not because they were wrong, but simply because the world wasn't ready to listen to the person who had them.